I am at it again, doing a fret file torture test of sorts, and really it's just curiosity has got me going once again. So I decided to pull out some of my old steel files out of the drawer and pick up a few new steel files and put them to the test side by side. So we're going to run them down the board, which is 2 nickel, 2 stainless, 2 nickel, 2 stainless. And I'm only having to go through this once because it's very apparent with these files what works and what doesn't. Just looking at the quality of some of the files, you can tell where your money goes or what you don't get for your money. So let's take a look at the files and get filing as we start the next project. In this test, we're looking at two different types of files, flat files and concave files. A triangle file is basically 3 flat files put together, which you run parallel to the fret, angling the file slightly with each consecutive pass, all parallel with the fret until you reach a fine crown. Concave files use the fret as a guide rail. You basically slide the file along the top of the fret and at times angle the file slightly to achieve your fine crown. It's a pretty easy process. All of the files tested have teeth that only cut on the push stroke. When you're pulling the file back, don't drag it, gently pick it up just a hair and continue filing on the push stroke. Let's take a look at the contenders. First one is our $8 to $20 pressed tooth file. You'll quite often see these in a kit with maybe a hammer or some stone leveling blocks or a fret rocker or a leveling beam of some sort. This is kind of the token throw-in thing that maybe is just supposed to be part of a keychain. I don't know. This has got like pressed in teeth. These teeth are really terrible. In fact, this file, I marked it on one side, the unusable side. There's really nothing. You couldn't even file your fingernail with this very well. The other side did work, and I used it basically for all 4 frets. And I was able to get a pretty good crown on all the 4 frets I worked on, 2 nickel, 2 stainless. I had to clean this file repeatedly, as I had to clean all these files. But this is really a disposable tool, if you can even call it a tool. Maybe it's a disposable toy. If you have one of these, be prepared to upgrade to a better tool and you will be amazed how much difference a better tool makes. Now let's take a look at tool number 2. Our second file in this crazy thing is a traditional triangle file or a 3-corner file or safety edge file, whatever you want to call it. This one I made 15, 17, 20 years ago. I don't know. I bought it at a big box store for probably $3, $4 and took a grinder to the 3 pointy edges and then sanded everything that was sharp smooth. So now you can run your fingernail on it and it is slick. Protect your fingerboard no matter what tool you're using and you'll have fewer regrets in the future. A lot of people have used these for years and years, and a lot of people still use them and love them. And they will give you a very good finish. You can get a very tight hairline crown with this. And I was mentioning to some people recently, if you can use this and you get good with it, the next step up is like a StewMac original Z file. It works very similar in process to this file. This is a great file and I'd be using it still today, maybe more regularly if it were just faster. It's kind of a slow process, but it's a good file. You can get these, basically make your own for $10, or you can buy one from StewMac. They range from $22 to $55. This file from StewMac would probably be about $35 roughly. So middle ballpark of expense. But it's a good file. It'll last a long time as long as you take care of it. Clean it regularly, couple 2-3 times per fret. Unplug the teeth, and you're ready to rock and roll. Let's take a look at tool number 3. This is a fairly popular little fret file that pops up on Amazon, and so I picked one up. It was fairly affordable. Was it $20? You get a nice little fake leather sheath that comes with it, some fret protectors, and a toothbrush for your dog. No, don't use that on your dog. You need to get a good file cleaning brush. This has concave cutting surface, 2 sides. I believe they're both the same. They look like it. If one's smaller radius than the other, it's barely. They're very, very uniform. Pretty decent stamped teeth that pretty much go straight across. Now we're going to be experiencing 3 different types of teeth. Kind of smile stamped, straight, stoic stamped, and frown stamped. This has got pretty much straight, stoic. It doesn't care. It just wants to work. And it did a pretty good job. Is it perfect for 20 bucks? Yeah, you could do a whole fingerboard with this. You would then be ready to probably move up to something a little bit better, but this will do the job, and you can get it fine with crown, a nice, pretty much hairline. This is actually kind of a surprise little file. It did work. It does have some issues. It's got sharp edges, which if you don't protect your fingerboard, this could scar your fingerboard. If it jumps over a fret, it could scar the top of the fret as it slips over. So a few things to pay attention to. Not a bad file though. For 20 bucks, it's working. Let's take a look at tool number 4. File number 4, I pulled out of my drawer once again. This was my second fret file from way back when. I bought this from StewMac back when they were probably like $1,000 a piece or something like that. I think the last time I saw this posted, it was like $65, $66. I'm not sure if they even sell this anymore, but it is a StewMac Gurian file, Gurian, quarter round. So it has kind of concave surfaces, 2 of them. And you can use this in a number of ways. You can lay it flat on the fingerboard to slide up against the fret, or you can stand it on its side and file, flip it over, hit the other side of the fret. This is a beast of a machine here. If you push too hard, you will tear the frets out of your fingerboard. I'm just kidding. You can do some serious damage with this file. It is very aggressive and it does a great job. You have to clean it regularly because it will plug up. It is prone to leaving chatter marks if you're not careful. You really need to learn how to use it, how to guide it, how to push it, when not to push. But with some practice and training and patience, once again, patience is a virtue and you need to be very virtuous when working on frets. This can do a great job very fast, and you can get a pretty darn fine crown with this, and that's ready for final, sanding and polishing. Let's take a look at how that all works out as we continue, and take a look at file number 5. Well, number 5 is not a FretGuru file. At a glance, you would say, hey, that's a FretGuru Dagger 2.0. Well, this one is. This one is number 5. This is what I'm guessing is a knockoff of the FretGuru, and it's $20. And it looks good out of the box, but it doesn't really work as it should. A number of weird things. It came with a coating on it, kind of a bubbly little, smelled like manure. I washed it off with some rubbing alcohol, which took all that coating off. Then I was able to see that the metal surface is kind of dinged and dented and scuffed and scratched, and it's not used, it's just manufacturing fatigue, basically. The file itself feels like it just got sheared from a bigger chunk of metal, and the teeth that are cut into it are smiley teeth. They're not stoic or frown, but they're cut in an upward arc of sorts. It is a concave file surface, and there are two surfaces. We have a medium large and a large extra large. Anyway, I was using this and filing, and I was like, my crown is not really coming in. I got to a certain point, and what was happening, the recess of the file is so deep that the side walls of the file itself are working like bumpers, and they'd come down and hit the top of the fingerboard, just leave a gap. I would not be able to file any deeper. Interesting. So we're going to take a look at this and maybe modify it so we can actually use it to actually complete a filing job. I tried both sides and the same thing happened. The depth of the file tooth cut is so deep and extreme that it sits down over the fret and only hits the sides and never gets close to the top. You could say, well, that's a design feature. Yeah, it is. It's a feature that keeps me from being able to finish my work. Let's take a look at number 6. Last but not least is the FretGuru Dagger 2.0. This is like the real life version of this other file that we just took a look at. It has no sharp edges. Everything is eased just a little, so nothing feels like it came right out of the stamp, right out of the metal shear. It got just a little edge taken off it. The edges around the file are also eased and smooth and nice. You can run them along your fingerboard, which you should tape off your fingerboard probably, or protect it. But these, even on an unprotected board like I'm using, caused no issue. The teeth in this one, as I've mentioned before, some are cut in this direction, some are straight across, some are a frown. Smile, straight, and frown. Well, these ones appear to be cut in a bit of a frown shape. Again, I still don't know what makes one better than the other. I did have to clean all of these files repeatedly, maybe a couple times per fret. I'd have to get out my little very tired brass scrub brush and brush them. And when that was having trouble, use like a sewing needle or something and get in there and pick out the fine debris out of all of these tools. But you got to keep them clean. You don't want metal getting plugged up in there. It's not good for the file. You can also gall or mar your frets, so you got to keep your files clean, all of them. Diamond files, you got to keep them clean. You can ruin frets with those too. This tool is $60, $59, what was it? $59.95. Out of all of these, really two of them kind of surface. Could live without the rest. Even though this is $20, it would take, an hour's worth of time to make it hopefully as good as this, and maybe it wouldn't get there. So you've got this amount of money invested in this just by fixing this one. The finished, more expensive, better product that actually would do a good crown because the file depth is not so extreme that it doesn't bottom out on the fingerboard before it crowns the fret. Whereas file number 5, the depth of the cut was so deep that it was creating a safety, so I couldn't actually crown the fret completely. Nice tool.
The following file rank order reflects hands-on experience, comparison and contrast of all files used in a side-by-side test. The saying, you get what you pay for, and not all files are created equal, rings true. Material and manufacturing quality are reflected by price in this case. This is a subjective ranking, and each user will likely have a different preference. Some of these tools might get the job done, others will do what you direct them to. Happy filing.
All right, let's get the party started. Coming in at -6 is the Fisher-Price crowning file. This is a file that you can get in a kit, typically with a hammer or maybe some leveling blocks or a fret rocker, something like that. Pros are, well, it might come with something else in the kit. Something that doesn't really matter to me was the rubber coated handle. It's nice, but it didn't help this file. All these files do need constant cleaning. And the cons with this file, boy, where do you start? Poor material quality, poor manufacturing, deformed teeth. The file actually wore out after about 4 frets. So you gotta say it's not really worth having. My number 5 pick goes to the Vacaboro file, which appears to be a knockoff or clone of the FretGuru Dagger 2 file. Pros are it's a nice shape, ergonomic, good price, around $20. Learning curve, here you go. Put the file on the fret and push. All these files do need constant cleaning, and the instruction sheet that came with the file tells you not to damage your instrument and not let the file get rusty. Cons. Tooth depth on this particular file is an issue, and it kept me from achieving a narrow crown. And at the same time, there's tooth wear. It appears that where the teeth are hitting the frets, they're taking a beating. The file does have sharp edges. It's made of what appears to be mid-grade material. It came with a sticky coating that smelled like manure, too. What's up with that? Number 4 goes to the Gurian quarter round file. Not because it's a bad file at all, but I do kind of feel it is out of date. It is a file of 20 years ago, perhaps. The pros are it has a very aggressive cut. It works fast. Fine crown is possible, but you are in charge of that happening. There is a learning curve with this file because you can mess up frets quick with this file. Like all files, it needs constant cleaning. The cons are the price, if it's available. It's a rather expensive file. The overall size is really an issue also. It works great in the middle of the neck from the nut to about where the neck connects to the body. Once you get over the body, it's a handful. And there's the potential for chatter as you're using the file. It can leave little teeth and ribs and bumps on your frets if you're not careful. So the pilot has to be awake. Number 3 goes to a surprise to me. It's the Tosicam crowning file. You can find this file under other names or no names also. The price is really good. It's a rather comfortable file. There is very little learning curve needed with this file. It appears to have pretty good teeth, and it does a good finish cutting too. It leaves a rather nice finish. Something that didn't matter to me was the sheath that it comes with and also the brush. The brush isn't good enough to actually clean the teeth, but you get a brush. Cons, potential for chatter. This is very much like the Gurian file in the fact that I think the teeth that run straight across the file maybe are more prone to leaving chatter marks. I don't know. Thinking about that, looking into it. Also, the handle, even though it's a wood handle of some sort, it feels a little on the cheap side, but it's a good tool otherwise. My number 2 pick goes to the first file I used when I started getting into this stuff, and that is a 3-corner file. Now, this file I actually modified myself. I bought a standard triangle file, eased the edges, and it worked really well. I used it for a number of years before upgrading to a Gurian file, and then I used that for a while before upgrading to diamond files. Now, one of the issues I do see with the 3-corner file is it is kind of antiquated technology. There are modern files that help you work smart rather than hard, so you get the job done quicker and better with less effort. The price is great on this file, and it will give you excellent results as long as you do your work. It does work well on nickel and stainless frets, assuming you have a good file to start with. It does require a learning curve. You have to show up and do the work to get good results. It does need constant cleaning like all the other files. Cons, it's a rather slow cutting file, at least with this fine tooth configuration I have. And it's a long file, so it has kind of limited access on set neck type situations. And a bit of a surprise to me, but maybe not. Number 1 spot goes to the FretGuru Dagger 2 file. I picked this up just for this test. I'd never used it before, didn't have a need to use it. And maybe the biggest con, I'm going to throw this right up front, is the price. It's a $60 file. If you're doing this as a hobby, there are other options you can get, so maybe think that over first. Pros, Manufacturing quality, very high. You're paying for that. The shape and design, great. You're paying for that. Ergonomics, that's part of shape and design. No learning curve really with this file. You put the file on the fret is your guide. You push it across, you pick it up, put it on the fret, push it across, you're done learning. Very good quality teeth, it appears, on this file, and they do a good job of cutting and leave a nice, uniform, smooth, finished fret, ready for a little quick scuff and polishing. Like all the files, this one needs constant cleaning. It has rather fine teeth, so they may plug up quicker than something with a coarser tooth, but coarser teeth just make bigger chips and cause bigger problems too. So, also the cut speed on this file might be a little slower than I was expecting, but it does a nice job, so there's the balance. We have reached the end of this quick down and dirty test of only 6 files, and please keep in mind there are dozens and dozens more out there to take a look at. I'm not suggesting you purchase any one of these. I'm not endorsing anything. I just put this together to ease my own brain and get an idea of what is available. If you are looking to purchase, please give us some serious thought. Determine how much you plan to do. Are you going to do one fingerboard or are you going to do one a month? Base your final decision on the scope of your projected use. If you're purely a one-off hobbyist, you might be able to get away with any of the top 3. If you're going to do many fretboards, you might want to look more toward the top end or even consider diamond files. Well, thank you for sticking with me through this quick down and dirty test. I greatly appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, leave some comments, and actually, if you leave a comment, let me know what files you're looking at or what files you're currently using. Ring the bell, hit the thumbs up. Thanks again. Take care of yourself and those around you. Until next time, bye.